Hi, everyone. Today, my group and I will be discussing gun violence, specifically in schools. The picture to the left depicts 7,000 pairs of shoes which were placed on the White House's lawn. This is how many children that have died since the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012 by gunshot wounds. Unfortunately, school shootings are one of the many ways children can be impacted by gun violence or lose their lives. These are lives forever lost, families broken, and schools that will never recover from these tragedies. As students growing up amid these tragedies and the nightmares of school shootings, it is important to learn about gun safety, prevention, and appropriate response to gun violence in our community.
Cover page. This presentation will talk about gun violence and guns in schools. We will begin with our purpose statement, outlining the goals of our discussion. Following that, we will go to our introduction to set the context for our topic. Our first main point will focus on the increase in gun violence in schools. We will examine statistics and trends that highlight the importance of this issue. Next, we will discuss various policies and measures that can be implemented to reduce gun violence in schools and enhance the safety of students. Finally, we will conclude with some fast facts to leave you with a clear understanding of this ongoing issue in our country.
The purpose of our speech is to inform others about the rise of school shootings and policies enacted to protect students.
Through close analysis of the various texts we found in our research process, we aim to explore the effectiveness of these policies, while also discussing instances where these policies could have saved lives. We also intend for our discussion to serve as a beacon for understanding on how to prevent future tragedies and ensure a safer learning environment for all students, as we are all at risk of gun violence. With that being said, the thesis statement we chose to represent our topic is the rise of school shootings in the past 20 years and how they fostered feelings of fear and worry in students and their families, leading to new policies and procedures being put into place to prevent gun violence and to better protect students in these situations.
Since 2000, school shootings have been on the rise, according to the data pictured here from the National Center for Education Statistics. The amount of school shootings approximately doubled from the 2020 to 2021 to the 2021 to 2022 school year, which is indicative of a growing problem with gun accessibility. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic undoubtedly exacerbated issues that potential school shooters face, which may have led them to commit their acts of violence. The spike in school shootings was met with a widespread response. Schools began to enhance their security measures or install new security devices on their campus. Students and their families have also been proactive in keeping students safe through new technologies and gear to protect their kids.
The increase in gun violence in schools has shot up. The 416 shootings since the Columbine massacre speak for this statistic and its magnitude. Having access to guns can save lives, but it is also a fatal game. About one-third of households with children at least 18 years of age have access to one or more firearms, according to writers for the Washington Post. These writers go on to say that 5% of gun-owning parents have made their weapons more accessible after COVID. They move their guns out of secure locations and into easier spots to access, such as unlocked cabinets and nightstand drawers. In the 416 shootings I had previously mentioned, 86% of the weapons were found in the homes of family or close friends, and half the time they were readily accessible. An Everytown article highlights instances where children used guns in school settings. In one of these instances, a 12-year-old took a gun from his father. He sawed off the barrel to fit it inside his duffel bag and brought it to school the day after. This child wounded several, and the dad caught him trying to take it 2 days before. Just a timeline to give this some more context. A child is caught by his father trying to steal his father's gun. His father puts it away somewhere, and the next day his child is able to get his hands on the same gun that he was just caught trying to steal. The day after that, he brings it to school and wounds his classmates. In another instance, a 15-year-old killed one and wounded three at their high school. This child knew the combination to their dad's gun safe and was able to get their hands on a 32 caliber semi-automatic pistol and a 223 caliber semi-automatic AR-15 rifle. Both of these guns were loaded, and the child brought more ammunition with them to school.
Guns themselves are not the only cause of school shootings. School shooters often experience several factors in their lives, leading them to escalate their behavior to violence. According to an article published in 2022 about patterns in school shooters by Dr. Dowdle, Aaron Freitas, Alana Owens, and Dr. Greenlee, 88% of school shooters had a social media account, 76% had posts containing disturbing content, 44% had a post with a gun, 60% reported being bullied, 72% had at least one adverse child experience, which I'll explain what that means in a second, and 48% reported having suicidal thoughts prior to the school shooting. An adverse child experience is essentially any traumatic experience that alters the course of one's life before they turn 18. This could be experiencing violence, neglect, or abuse. It is important to note that although these patterns are prevalent among school shooters, it can't be generalized to all school shooters. In a report published in 2019 by the Secret Service, they said that there is not a specific profile, for all school shooters. Each one is different, but it is important to be aware of the most common signs that school shooters exhibit, especially prior to a school shooting, so it can be prevented.
Our second main point is to inform you about policies that limit gun violence in schools and protect faculty and students. As school shootings are on the rise in America, different public schools around the country have implemented various safety measures and procedures to protect the students and faculty. Beyond some of the older methods, like shelter in place drills, CNN recently published an article on September 5th, 2024, following the September 4th, 2024 Georgia school shooting, demonstrating different items and practices to better classroom safety. The article specifically showcases door window covers, whiteboard safe rooms, bullet resistant windows, bulletproof backpacks, and auto locking doors. In addition, the National Library of Medicine talks about more physical measures following the 1999 Columbine shooting. However, the website is up to date as of 2023 and is expecting its next update October 14th, 2024. These measures include armed guards, metal detectors, and more practical drills for students to keep them protected from outside parties, like lockdown drills. Implementing these policies is intended to better safety in schools around the country and lower the casualty and injured statistics around school shootings. The images displayed on the PowerPoint showcase bulletproof backpacks as well as students partaking in a lockdown drill.
This slide will talk about prevention. Listed are some ways that we can limit the amount of school shooting disasters. First is the Secure Storage and Child Access Prevention Law. Everytown research states that the secure storage and cap laws hold gun owners accountable if a child can or does access firearms that are not securely stored. Since the vast majority of school shooters under the age of 18 acquire guns from their homes, secure storage is an essential ingredient for preventing gun violence in schools. Implementing crisis intervention programs can help schools identify and de escalate dangerous situations. Schools should collaborate with community partners to develop trauma informed crisis interventions methods that can be implemented before a person commits an act of violence. According to a 2018 assessment from the Department of Homeland Security, preventing violence by detecting and addressing these red flags is more effective than any physical security measure. Successful crisis interventions protect student civil rights while avoiding an excessive force on historically underprivileged and disabled students. It can address student access to firearms, and it can also provide appropriate school based mental health care. Adding psych evaluations can help decrease the gun related crimes while also limiting the number of weapons accessible to children. As stated on PMC PubMed Central, having a mental health adjunction record archived in the NICS can significantly reduce risk of first violent crime. The VCU news website discusses how easy it is to obtain a gun. It states that in the US, you can walk into a gun store and buy as many assault rifles as you want if you have cash and are over 18, and you also meet just a couple of loose criteria. Background checks. While New Jersey has laws and applications on obtaining firearm permits, not all states have the same process. Everytown research says that requiring background checks on all gun sales in the US can help prevent teens from taking advantage of the background check loophole, which permits someone to buy a handgun online or at a gun show with no background check. Raise the minimum age to purchase semi automatic firearms to 21. This policy aims to restrict gun sales to teenagers, particularly focusing on individuals ages 18 to 20, who can currently purchase any type of firearm in the US. Reports from sources like ABC 7 New York and the National Interest highlight that assault rifles are amongst the most dangerous types of weapons available. Furthermore, research indicates that individuals in this age group commit gun homicides at 3 times the rate of adult ages 21 and older. By raising the minimum age for purchasing semi automatic firearm, this policy can significantly reduce access to these weapons for teenagers.
This is a graphic from the Washington Post article I mentioned before. They have detailed every instance where a gun was fired on school grounds or close enough to a school to wound a child who interfered. Each of these instances is marked by a circle. If you zoom into each circle, you will notice that they are actually clusters of smaller circles. These smaller circles represent every 20 children present in school when the shots were fired. A zoomed in version of the graphic on the left is on the right. This helps to illustrate the impact a single gun can have on a community of children and draws in on the fact that every student that steps onto a school campus is at risk just by being there.
Fast facts. Each day, 12 children die from gun violence in America. Another 32 are shot and injured. Guns are the leading cause of death among American children and teens. Firearm deaths occur at a rate more than 5 times higher than drowning. Since a shooting at Columbine High School in 1999, more than 338,000 students in the US have experienced gun violence at school. In 2022, 34 students and adults died, while more than 43,000 children were exposed to gunfire at schools. An estimated 4.6 million American children live in a home where at least one gun is kept loaded and unlocked. These improperly stored weapons have contributed to school shootings, suicides, and the deaths of family members, including infants and toddlers. Nearly half of all parents with a weapon in their homes wrongly believe their children don't know where a gun is stored. In 4 out of 5 school shootings, at least one other person has the knowledge of the attacker's plans but failed to report it. In a comprehensive school shooting study, the Secret Service and the Department of Education found that 93% of school shooters planned the attack in advance. And lastly, the US population is about 334 million, and the number of guns in the US is more than 390 million.
As we conclude our presentation, let's revisit the main points of our speech. We investigated the increases of gun violence in schools and explored accessibility and characteristics of school shooters, as well as policies to limit gun violence in schools and protect students, exploring safety procedures and prevention. Thank you for your time and attention today. If you have any questions or would like to discuss any of the topics further, please feel free to reach out.